I was called worthless by my fiancé's family. Then I took back my $25,000, blocked them all, and watched their gold digger dream collapse into debt in public. I, a 30-year-old male, never thought I'd be one of those guys with a story like this. Growing up in a blue-collar neighborhood in Cleveland, I was raised to believe in honest work, straightforward talk, and keeping your word. My dad spent 35 years at the same manufacturing plant. My mom taught second grade at the local elementary school, and they managed to put me through trade school without taking on debt. My fiancée, a 27-year-old female named Chloe, came from a different world entirely. We met at a friend's barbecue 4 years ago. She was there with a Chio worker who knew the host. I noticed her watching me fix the host's grill that had been acting up. Something sparked between us that day, despite our different backgrounds. Or maybe because of them. She was fascinated by my authenticity, as she called it. I was drawn to her confidence and the way she carried herself. I was engaged to Chloe for just over 1 year. We'd been together for 4 years total. And honestly, things seemed pretty solid. The wedding was set for next spring, save the dates were already out, and we'd booked this impressive venue that was basically her dream spot. Well, almost everything was solid. There was always this undercurrent with her parents, Edward and Lauren. They're old money, the kind of people who summer in the Hamptons and winter in Aspen. I own a successful auto repair shop that I built from the ground up. Good business, decent income, but definitely not part of their tax bracket. From day one, they made it clear I wasn't what they had in mind for their daughter. Not through anything direct, they were too refined for that, but through 1,000 paper cuts of condescension. They were always present, checking in on wedding plans, offering suggestions that felt more like mandates. I could feel their disapproval whenever I was around them, like they thought their daughter was settling for less than she deserved. I'll never forget the dinner at their vacation home when Edward handed me his keys and asked me to take a quick look at his Porsche because it was making a funny noise right in the middle of dinner, like I was the help, not their future son-in-law. Chloe said something about me not wanting to get my hands dirty, but there was no real defense in her tone. Edward basically said it's what I do for a living, and Vanessa, Chloe's older sister, didn't even try to hide her smirk while suggesting they should start paying me to be on call for their car problems. I swallowed my pride and spent 40 minutes in their garage while everyone finished their meal. When I came back in, Lauren had the nerve to offer me a plate she'd kept warm, like it was some kind of favor. Nobody acknowledged how messed up the whole situation was. When I got home that night, I told Matt about it. Matt's been my best friend since high school, works construction, calls bullshit when he sees it, and has never once pulled a punch when I need to hear the truth. "Dude, I basically called you the help to your face," he said, grabbing another soda from the mini fridge. "What's next? Asking you to park their cars when guests arrive." Hunter, my German shepherd, rested his head on my knee like he could sense my frustration. I scratched behind his ears. "Chloe says they're just protective." "Protective? Bro, they're not protecting her from you, they're protecting their freaking social status." Matt shook his head. "I wouldn't put up with that for a second." I shrugged. "You know how it is when you love someone. When you love someone, you don't let their family treat them like garbage," Matt countered. "And you don't let anyone treat you like garbage either." Chloe always brushed it off when I mentioned these slights. "They're just protective," she'd say. "They want the best for me." I believed her at first because that's what you do when you love someone. You trust them. We had this joint account set up specifically for wedding expenses. We each put in $30,000. Mine from years of building my business. Hers probably funded by her parents. The total was about $60,000 for the wedding we were planning. Looking back, there were signs I missed. Chloe started having more private calls with her parents, and especially Vanessa. She'd step out of the room, lower her voice, started questioning things we'd already decided on, but when you're in it, you don't always see what's happening. Vanessa had Chloe's ear from the beginning. The divorced older sister who knew men, and was always warning Chloe about settling. She'd send Chloe articles about women who married down and regretted it. She'd introduced Chloe to her rich friends' brothers and cousins, even after we were engaged, always with the same line. "Just socializing, nothing wrong with having options." And Chloe let her, defended her. "She's just looking out for me," she'd say. Our fights became more frequent. I'd call out her family's condescension, and she'd immediately go on the defensive, saying I was being too sensitive or that I should make more of an effort to fit in. After one particularly heated argument where I pointed out that Vanessa had referred to my shop as my little garage business at a family dinner, Chloe snapped and said, "Maybe you should be more ambitious. Her father built an empire while I was content just fixing cars." I stared at her, seeing for the first time the contempt beneath the surface. "Those cars pay for half of this wedding, and they paid for that 3-carat diamond ring on your finger." She apologized later, blamed it on wedding stress. I accepted it because I thought we were working towards something real. The final straw came 2 days before she left. Vanessa had invited herself over to our place supposedly to discuss wedding details. Chloe had stepped out to pick up some food, leaving me and Vanessa alone. Hunter, who never liked Vanessa by the way, kept his distance, watching her suspiciously from his dog bed in the corner. The moment Chloe was gone, Vanessa told me straight up that Chloe was settling, that she could have anyone better than me. Like the surgeon son of her father's golf buddy who just bought a summer house in the Hamptons. When I told her to leave, she laughed and said she was working on Chloe and that she'd come to her senses eventually. When Chloe got back, I told her immediately, "Your sister just told me she's actively trying to break us up." I said the moment she walked through the door, "What are you talking about, Vanessa?" She straight up told me, "You're settling with me. What does that mean, Chloe?" Her face flushed. "Oh my God, Justin, you always do this." "Do what?" "Tell you when your family is being rude to me. I ignored it for so long just for the sake of you, but that was really messed up." "No, you always twist everything they say." She was probably joking. "Come on, don't take it personally." "Joking? Are you serious?" "Well, maybe if you weren't so goddamn insecure about—" My voice rose. "Your sister just disrespected me and I'm insecure." "Yes, insecure," Chloe shouted back, "because any normal person would laugh it off instead of making it into this huge thing. And here you are defending her again." "I'm not defending anyone. I'm just sick of every family dinner, every conversation ending with you complaining because they treat me like—" "Do you even see the problem here? Listen, you're going to either talk sense to them or some things will change. They're just responding to your attitude. You're complaining about Vanessa." "Well, at least she doesn't make me feel like I have to choose between my family and my fiancé," she shot back, tears in her eyes. That was the last fight before things imploded. She slept on the couch that night while Hunter slept in my bedroom. Yeah, best night of his life. I knew something was wrong when I came home from work on a Tuesday. The apartment felt different. Empty somehow, even before I realized some of her things were missing. Hunter met me at the door instead of his usual spot on the couch, following me around anxiously like he sensed the shift. I found the note on the kitchen counter next to her engagement ring. 3 paragraphs that boiled down to 5 words that hit like a physical blow. "My family thinks you're worthless." The full message was longer, couched in softer language about taking a break and reevaluating our compatibility and different life expectations. But those 5 words, the only ones that really mattered, burned through everything else. "My parents are concerned about our future together," she wrote. "They don't think you can provide the lifestyle I deserve. I need time to think about what I really want. I'll be staying with them for a while." She didn't even have the guts to say it to my face. 4 years, and I get a note. I sat at the kitchen table for hours, her ring catching the light when I moved. That 3-carat diamond that had stretched my budget to the breaking point 2 years ago, long before I even started saving for the wedding fund. The ring that made her eyes light up when I proposed. Not good enough, not established enough, worthless. After 4 years together, after she had pushed for this big wedding, something about the timing felt off. We had final venue deposits due in just a couple of weeks. I'd poured $30,000 of my savings into our joint wedding account. The practical side of my brain started firing up through the shock and hurt. This wasn't an emotional pause. This was a calculated delay tactic. A nasty little voice in my head whispered, "Check the venue." The next morning I called the venue coordinator. "Brenda, hi, this is Justin Davies. I wanted to check on some menu details for the spring wedding." There was a pause, too long. "Oh, Mr. Davies, actually Chloe called on Monday afternoon. She canceled the booking." Monday, the day before the break note. "Canceled." I kept my voice light. "Not rescheduled?" "No, full cancellation, unforeseen circumstances," she said. "The initial $10,000 deposit is non-refundable." Of course. That deposit came from our joint account." I thanked Brenda and hung up. Then I sat at my kitchen table staring at nothing. The break was theater. The wedding was already dead by her hand. I logged into online banking. Joint account balance, $50,000 remaining. My $30,000 contribution, her $30,000, minus the lost $10,000 deposit. My half of that remaining $50,000 was $25,000. It was my money for a wedding she'd secretly killed. I transferred my $25,000 out, clean, simple, fair. Then I texted her. "Chloe, I just found out from the venue you canceled everything on Monday before your note, so the break is permanent. I've withdrawn my share of the remaining funds from the wedding account. Seems fair since there's no wedding. Hope you find the lifestyle you deserve." Then I blocked her number, and her parents' numbers, and her sister Vanessa's number too. I called Matt immediately after. "Need a drink," was all I said. 20 minutes later, he was at my door with a 6-pack and pizza. Hunter circled us excitedly. He always liked Matt. Probably because Matt snuck in pepperoni when he thought I wasn't looking. I laid out the whole situation, the note, the venue, the money. "Holy shit," Matt said, letting out a low whistle. So she dumps you with a note after canceling the venue, but before telling you there's no wedding. That's some calculated bullshit right there. Yeah, well, I'm done being the nice guy in the story. Matt raised his can. About damn time. Cheers to finally growing a spine. Screw you, I laughed for the first time in days. Seriously though, Matt said, suddenly sincere. You did the right thing, she was trying to play you. Hunter settled between us on the couch, head on my lap, completely content now that his pack was back together, minus one member he probably wouldn't miss. Sometimes understanding is a very expensive lesson for someone else. The silence lasted exactly 6 days. Blocking is merely a suggestion these days. Thursday morning, a voicemail from an unknown number. Chloe, angry, not sad. Justin, what on earth do you think you're doing? You took money from our wedding account. You can't just do that. Call me immediately. Our wedding? The one she canceled? Delusional, I didn't call. Emails followed. Urgent financial error. You've made a huge mistake. We need to talk now. The gist, I'd stolen from her. I was petty and ruining her. The break wasn't a breakup. Sure, she waffled about the venue cancellation being not finalized when I confronted her. But let's be real, full cancellation is pretty final. She's spinning, Matt said over lunch at the diner near my shop. She thought you'd roll over and wait for her to decide if you're worthy. Now she's scrambling. Hunter was at the shop, probably napping in his bed behind the counter. The guys who worked for me loved him, and customers seemed to trust a garage with a dog. Good judge of character, I always said. Then Lauren, Chloe's mother, got my work email. It was a masterpiece of passive aggression. Justin, Chloe is distraught. While we expressed minor reservations, your actions have been disproportionate and cruel. You have taken funds earmarked for deposits. Chloe is now in a terrible position. As a gentleman, you should rectify this oversight at once.
Rectify this oversight? Love that. As if I accidentally tripped and my money fell out of her account.
The $10,000 venue deposit was already gone. $5,000 mine, $5,000 hers. My withdrawal of $25 from the remaining $50,000 left her with her exact $25,000. It's not that hard. My one reply to Lauren with a copy sent to Chloe. Dear Lauren, Chloe canceled the wedding venue on Monday, October 9th, before informing me she wanted a break. The funds were for that wedding. No wedding, so I reclaimed my portion. Chloe has her full contribution. Any further commitments are her own. Matter closed. Red flag to a bull. Weekend barrage. Missed calls. Frantic emails. Justin, the caterer needs their deposit. The photographer. I paid some vendors from my personal account, assuming the joint money was there. You owe me. Her claims about these other vendor payments supposedly made from her personal account gave me pause. If true, the timing would be crucial. Then Vanessa messaged me on LinkedIn. Justin, listen up. You need to fix this now. Chloe's hysterical. Mom and Dad are livid, and I'm tired of dealing with this drama. Give her the money back and stop being such a jerk. It's just money, and God knows you need to do the right thing for once. It's just money. Easy for her to say. Daddy's company had been paying her consulting fees for years for work nobody could actually describe. Man, the entitlement is off the charts, Matt said, scrolling through the screenshots I'd sent him. Bet they've never heard the word no before. They're hearing it now, I replied. Saturday night, looking at an old photo, we were happy, felt like a fool, a flash of regret. Then I remembered the note. My family thinks you're worthless. The cold returned. Hunter sensed my mood and pushed his head under my hand, forcing me to pet him. Good therapy, that dog. This is about facts, not emotion. She made choices. She's facing the price tag. 3 weeks passed, and things escalated. Not by me. I was Switzerland. Cool, calm, and collecting receipts. Chloe and the Hawthorns, Edward, Lauren, and Vanessa as attack dog, had doubled down. Dirty tricks, social media vague booking, Chloe's sad cryptic posts, trust betrayed, picking up pieces. Amelia, her friend, cheering her on. He never appreciated you anyway. Annoying, but ultimately hot air.
You know what kills me?
Matt said as we were working on his truck one weekend. They act like you're the villain when she's the one who pulled the rug out. That's how they see the world, I replied, sliding out from under the truck. When you're used to privilege, fairness feels like oppression. Look at you getting all philosophical, Matt laughed, handing me a wrench. Next, you'll be starting a podcast, Auto Shop Wisdom with Justin. Hunter was racing around the yard, enjoying the freedom to run. Chloe had always insisted he was too energetic and wanted him crated when she had friends over. He seemed happier these days. Made 2 of us. Then came the shared items gambit. Chloe emailed a demand list for items from my apartment. Some gifts from her. Fair enough. But then my stuff. Bought pre-Chloe sound system, vintage car parts I collected, tools. We enjoyed them together, but that's not how ownership works. She also demanded kitchen gadgets that were wedding shower gifts sent to my address from my relatives. The audacity. But the financial fog machine was the big one. She claimed she fronted thousands for various wedding things, dress alterations, deposits for smaller vendors, from her personal accounts with the understanding she'd be reimbursed from the joint wedding fund. As I looked into it, I found she'd produced some invoices. The problem, I never agreed to reimburse her for personal wedding attire from the joint fund. Her dress was her dress. My suit was my suit. Those deposits she was claiming, I discovered some were dated after she canceled the main venue. So, she canceled the wedding, then continued to spend money on photographers, florists, and other vendors on what exactly? A phantom wedding, or more likely to create financial obligations she could later pin on me while she bought time with her break story. She was also demanding I pay half the cancellation fees for vendors she booked and she canceled, including the main venue's $10,000 non-refundable deposit. She conveniently forgot that $5,000 of that lost deposit was my money already. She wanted me to pay another $5,000 so she'd be whole and I'd be out $10,000. The math of the truly entitled is a special kind of creative accounting. Her parents backed her. Lauren called my mother. My mom listened and basically told Lauren that Chloe made some decisions without consulting me and is now upset about the consequences. That conversation ended quickly. Go, Mom. Vanessa left sanctimonious voicemails saying I was jealous that Chloe comes from money and I don't, and that a real man would step up and do the right thing. A secret wedding cancellation is me being petty. Okay, princess? The harassment continued. The Hawthorns couldn't believe their precious daughter was facing actual consequences, so they ramped up the pressure. Edward called my shop directly, getting one of my mechanics on the phone. The poor guy came to my office looking confused. Boss, there's some angry dude on the line saying he's your almost father-in-law and demanding to speak to you. I took the call in my office, the door closed. Edward didn't bother with pleasantries. Justin, this has gone far enough, you've made your point. Chloe is very upset. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, trying to keep my voice neutral, but I'm not sure what you expect me to do about it. You know exactly what, the money, return it, and we can all move forward. I almost laughed. Forward to what exactly? Chloe canceled our wedding without telling me, then left me a note saying I wasn't good enough for her. There's no forward from that. She was confused under pressure. Weddings are stressful and she made a mistake, but you're punishing her financially, which is spiteful and beneath you. Edward, let me be clear. The money I took was my contribution to our wedding fund, a wedding that no longer exists because your daughter canceled it. I didn't take her money, I took mine. He sighed like he was talking to a particularly dense child. Look, son, I'm not your son and I never will be. Fine, Justin, be reasonable. Chloe has expenses, commitments she made in good faith after she canceled the venue. That's not good faith. That's manipulation. This isn't going away, Edward said, his voice hardening. We have options, legal options. Go for it, I replied, surprised at how calm I felt. I document everything I have. The call ended with Edward threatening vague consequences. Later that day, I got another email from Chloe. This one with a spreadsheet attached showing all her outstanding wedding expenses that she expected me to cover half of. The total came to just over $21,000. I forwarded it to my lawyer without replying. That night I took Hunter for a long walk through the neighborhood. The cool evening air felt good. I found myself thinking about what Matt had said earlier that week. You know what this is really about, right? He'd asked. It's not the money. It's that you're the first person who ever said no to her. He was right. This wasn't about $25,000. This was about control. The next phase of their attack was more targeted. They started reaching out to people in my circle. Matt texted me on a Wednesday morning. Dude, your ex's sister just called my work asking for me. How the hell did she get that number? They'd found my business's Facebook page where Matt had once tagged himself working on a restoration project with me. From there, they tracked down where he worked. What did she want? I asked when we met up later. To get dirt on you, Matt said, shaking his head. Wanted to know if you had a history of being financially controlling or if you'd ever shown signs of instability. Told her to eat dirt and hung up. They contacted two of my other friends the same way. One hung up immediately, the other stayed on the line, long enough to tell Vanessa exactly what he thought of her and her family's tactics. Then came the reputation attack. They reached out to a few of my business clients, implying I was unreliable and unstable. Fortunately, most of my customers had known me for years and immediately let me know what was happening. One of my oldest clients, a fleet manager for a delivery company, called me directly. Justin, got a weird call about you today. A woman claiming to be your ex's mother said I should reconsider doing business with you because you're in some kind of legal trouble. What the hell is that about? I explained the situation briefly. He laughed. Well, that backfired on her. Just signed off on getting those 3 new vans serviced with you instead of the dealer. If they're trying to mess with you, you must be doing something right. The last straw was when they called my parents. My dad. Never one for long conversations, simply said, "My son is an honest man. Your daughter broke his heart, you should all be ashamed," and hung up. My response to all this: documentation, every email, voicemail, every text message from before the break, my own bank statements proving my wedding purchases, confirmation from the vendors I dealt with that no contracts were solely my responsibility. A quick chat with a lawyer showed him the timeline, the joint account agreement, a simple one, thankfully, stating funds for mutual wedding costs, proof of my contribution and withdrawal, venue cancellation confirmation. His take: "You're in the clear. The money you took was verifiably yours, intended for a purpose she unilaterally nullified. Subsequent spending or cancellation fees are her problem," he said. "She's trying to push you, don't let her." "Good advice, smart move with the lawyer," Matt said, dropping by the shop with lunch one day. Hunter immediately abandoned his post at the door to greet him. "Traitor, cost you what, a couple $100? Worth every penny for the peace of mind." "Yeah, well, you can thank your brother-in-law for the referral. Mike said he was happy to help, said guys like you get screwed in these situations all the time because they try to be nice." "Not this time," I said, taking the sandwich he offered. The expensive part for Chloe was already happening. She was on the hook for several non-refundable deposits she paid after canceling the main venue, but before the break. Talk about deposits she kept making to build a paper trail of expenses while she figured out how to squeeze more money from me, the photographer, the fancy cake lady, the string quartet she absolutely had to have for the now non-existent ceremony. Those vendors wanted their cancellation fees, and they were looking at her, not me. I hadn't been aggressive. I hadn't slandered her. I just stepped aside, pulled my support, pulled my money. It's fascinating really how quickly we and us became me. When the free ride ended, my resolve was solid. She wanted a break. She got one, a permanent, financially inconvenient one. The worthless comment still stung sometimes late at night. But then I looked at the growing file of her increasingly unhinged demands and thought, yeah, I'm good enough to not put up with this. 1 month later, and it was enlightening. The entitlement reached its crescendo. Then finally, the music started to fade. For them, anyway. For me, it's been a period of calm, firm lines in the sand. The dirty tricks continued for a bit, then sputtered out. Chloe, through her father, Edward, this time actually had a lawyer send me a letter. It was full of bluster, misappropriation of joint marital funds, we weren't married, emotional distress, breach of promise to marry, the one she called off. It demanded I return the $25,000 I withdrew, plus an additional $15,000 to cover her losses from canceled vendors and damages. So, $40,000. Ridiculous. My lawyer sent back a very polite, very factual 2-page response with the timeline, bank statements, and a reminder that her contracts with other vendors were her responsibility, especially those incurred after she'd already secretly canceled the primary wedding arrangement. We never heard from their lawyer again. I guess even he realized he couldn't polish that particular turd. Edward probably wasn't too happy about paying legal fees for that dud. The social media vague booking also fizzled. I think some of her friends, maybe even Amelia, started to piece things together or just got bored of the drama. Amelia, who had been liking and commenting on all of Chloe's passive-aggressive posts, suddenly went radio silent. When your sob story doesn't result in cash, people lose interest. Then came the somewhat pathetic confrontation. Chloe managed to get me on the phone. I unblocked her for 1 day out of a weird sense of curiosity. Big mistake, or maybe not. It was clarifying. She went straight to the victim act, wailing about how I'd ruined everything and how she's in debt with vendors hounding her. When I asked who canceled the wedding venue secretly, she claimed she was under pressure and confused, but that I didn't have to be so vindictive by taking all that money. When I pointed out it was my money for a wedding she decided wasn't happening, she said a real man would have covered those expenses for her to be a gentleman. I told her a gentleman by your definition sounds like a doormat with a bank account, and that's not me. When she started crying about how much this has cost her, I told her it's cost her exactly what her choices have incurred. 1 week later, Vanessa tried an ambush at a coffee shop I frequent. She strode over, designer purse swinging, all puffed up, and started hissing about what I've done to her sister. I didn't even look up from my laptop, just told her there's nothing to discuss. Her sister made choices and is living with them. I suggested she and her parents help Chloe sort out her finances since they were instrumental in her decisions. That's when she dropped her little bomb. Chloe was already upgraded to Richard, the surgeon's son of her dad's golf buddy. Apparently, they'd been seeing each other for weeks, starting right after she left me, and he was already talking about helping her with her debt. That's what a real man does, Vanessa said smugly. I just told her good for Chloe and hope Richard knows what he's getting into. Vanessa went full snob mode, saying Chloe was always too good for some grease monkey, and now she knows it too. I got up and left while she was mid-rant. Let her explode on her own time. From what I've pieced together, Chloe's credit card debt has been piling up. The vendors she ghosted pursued their cancellation fees as they should. Her parents are helping financially, but I guarantee it comes with a lifetime supply of "I told you so" and "how could you be so foolish." I did get one final unexpected email from Amelia, Chloe's best friend, basically apologizing and saying she only heard Chloe's side and is now seeing things differently. I didn't reply. While all this drama was unfolding, I focused on what actually mattered, my business. The auto shop had been doing well, but I'd been so caught up in wedding planning and Chloe's family drama that I'd put some expansion plans on hold. With the $25,000 back in my account, and no wedding to plan, I had both the capital and the mental bandwidth to make some moves. I hired another mechanic, invested in some new diagnostic equipment, and started offering specialized services for European cars, something I'd wanted to do for years. Turns out the customers with Porsches and BMWs who don't want to pay dealer prices are happy to find a skilled independent shop. Ironic considering how Chloe's dad had treated me over his precious Porsche. The new direction was paying off. Revenue was up 22% compared to the same quarter last year. My guys were getting specialized training, and word was spreading. I even had to start turning away some work because we were booked solid 3 weeks out. Matt stopped by one afternoon when I was going over the books. Hunter greeted him with his usual enthusiasm. "Looks like you're doing all right for a worthless guy," Matt said, glancing at the spreadsheet on my computer. "Turns out being single is good for business," I replied. "Who knew?" "You should send Chloe a thank you note," he joked. "Dear Chloe, thanks for dumping me so I could focus on making actual money instead of planning ways to impress your awful family." I laughed. "Yeah, I'm sure that would go over well." "Seriously though," Matt said, leaning against my desk, "you dodged a bullet. Imagine being tied to those people for the rest of your life." I nodded. He was right. As painful as the breakup had been, it would have been worse to spend decades dealing with the Hawthorns' constant judgment and Chloe's increasing resentment. "Speaking of bullets dodged," Matt continued, "heard anything about the new guy, the surgeon?" "Not a word," I said, "and I'm perfectly happy keeping it that way." Little did I know that particular story was just beginning to unfold. It's been nearly 5 months since that last phone call with Chloe, and about 7 since my world tilted on its axis. Life moves on. It's quieter now. The anger has mostly faded. I don't rejoice in Chloe's financial struggles, but I don't lose sleep over them either. She built that bed. She's sleeping in it. From what little I hear, Chloe is still dealing with the financial fallout. She had to move back in with Edward and Lauren for a while to save money, which I imagine is its own special kind of hell for all involved. The dream wedding debt is apparently a sore subject. About 1 month ago, I ran into Amelia at the grocery store. She looked uncomfortable seeing me, but came over anyway to ask how I was doing. When I said I was good, she asked if I'd heard what happened. That's where she dropped the bomb. Turns out the doctor Chloe started seeing, Richard, not actually a surgeon or wealthy, just a con artist who targeted rich families. He convinced Edward to invest in some fake medical tech startup, then disappeared with the money. They were trying to keep it quiet, but it was all over their social circle. I couldn't help but laugh. Karma's a bitch. The best part, Chloe and Vanessa had a nuclear meltdown over it. Chloe blamed Vanessa for introducing them and pushing her to leave me, called her a toxic bitch at Edward's birthday dinner in front of everyone. They're not speaking, and Vanessa's not even allowed at family functions anymore. "You can't make this up," Matt said when I told him over takeout. "We were sitting in my backyard, Hunter chasing a ball while we talked. Almost makes me feel bad for her. Almost." "The irony is unreal," I agreed. "They thought I wasn't good enough, and then got taken for $500,000 by some con artist posing as exactly what they wanted. Just goes to show." Matt said, "Sometimes the best revenge is just getting out of the way and letting karma do its thing." I was finishing up work at the garage one Tuesday evening when Chloe showed up looking thinner and more drawn but still dressed impeccably. She wanted to talk. Against my better judgment, I gave her 5 minutes. Hunter, who had been dozing in his bed, immediately perked up when she walked in. He didn't growl, but he moved to stand between us, watching her carefully. Smart dog. She started with the waterworks, saying she made a huge mistake listening to her family, especially Vanessa. Said Richard was a disaster. Her family's a mess, and she's living in her childhood bedroom at 30. Said she misses me and has changed. I felt nothing watching her cry. When she finished her speech about how she's learned her lesson and we could try again, I simply said no. Her face fell. "What do you mean no?" "I mean no, we're not getting back together, we're not trying again, there is no us anymore." The tears didn't stop, but something calculated entered her eyes. She asked, "There's someone new, right? You moved on already?" When I told her my life isn't her concern anymore, she got angry. The tears dried up as she accused me of being cruel after she came to apologize. "You came here because your backup plan failed spectacularly and you need somewhere to land. I'm not it." Her face hardened and she accused me of enjoying seeing her suffer and having a vindictive streak. I told her to leave or I'd call the cops. As she walked out, she said I'd regret this, that when I'm alone with my little garage, I'll wish I'd given us another chance. I smiled for the first time since she'd walked in. I'd rather be alone in my garage than with someone who thinks I'm worthless. Later that night, I texted Matt. You'll never guess who showed up at the shop today. His response came quickly. Princess Entitlement herself. What did she want? To try again. Said she's changed. And you said hell no, that's my boy. Dinner Friday to celebrate your continued freedom. You're buying in your dreams, cheapskate. As for me, the $25,000 I'd withdrawn from the joint account went straight back into my savings where it belonged. I kept the engagement ring. It's in a safe deposit box. Maybe one day I'll sell it. Or maybe it'll just be a very expensive reminder. I've been on a couple of dates. Nothing serious. I'm not in a rush. My revenge, if you can call it that, was simply to hold her accountable for her own actions. I didn't stoop to her level. I didn't engage in mudslinging. I just stated facts, protected my money, and walked away. Hunter and I moved to a smaller place closer to the shop. No point keeping the apartment we'd rented with Chloe in mind. It's just right for the two of us. I can walk to work now. And there's a dog park nearby where Hunter made his own friends. So yeah, life isn't a fairy tale. Sometimes the princess reveals herself to be more interested in the royal treasury than the prince. And sometimes the worthless guy turns out to be good enough to see through the deception and walk away with his dignity and his savings intact.